There are some operations which you perform so frequently when working with MaxMSP that it's really worthwhile learning some very simple key commands to do them. The first one is for making a new object. Instead of double-clicking and using the object palette, what I recommend learning is just the single key command N. That's not Command N or Control N, but just N on its own. So if I just type N, I get a new object box where I can just type something that I want to have there. So that's N. Next one is M for message. So if I just type an M, I get a message. M again, and that's for creating messages. So that, again, those are very useful and will speed up the way we work very, very much. Locking and unlocking the patcher is something that we're doing all the time. There's two very quick ways of doing it. The first one is to command click in an empty space. So I hold down the command key and click, and that locks and unlocks. Just to say, in case you don't know, the command key on an Apple, on a Macintosh, has got a picture of an apple on it, or a picture of a sort of four-leaf clover motorway flyer with him. That way of unlocking and unlocking the patch actually still involves using the mouse. The one which I tend to use most of the time, we can see up here under View, is Edit Command E. So what I do there is hold down the Command key and Command E to lock or unlock the patch. A very useful feature which is new in, no, let me go and do something else first of all. If we go up here into Help, you'll see Patcher key commands. And this is a reminder of the ones I was just talking about. N makes a new object box, M makes a message box. There's a couple here, F and I, which I'm going to come on to next. Very importantly, there are two different kinds of number box, a float and an int. There's in fact two different kinds of number in MaxMSP. If I just go back for a second to using this, we can see there's number and flownum. And you can remember those very easily as being I and F. So if I type I get an integer number, and if I type F, I get a floating point number. Now let's just have a look at the difference between the two of these. Let's get those out the way there. The difference between these two kinds of numbers in MaxMSP is that, sorry, that's a bit crazy, those are integers and those are floats. Integers are numbers which don't have a decimal point, floats are numbers which do have a decimal point. And MaxMSP actually treats those in quite a different way, and it's important sometimes to not get them confused. I'm going to make a float there and an integer there by typing F and I, and let's see what happens if we send a float to an integer or the other way around. So here, in the first instance, I'm sending an integer to a float, and if I clear that, what gets printed is a number with a decimal point. In other words, my integer has actually been converted to a floating point number. If we do it the other way around, here I'm going to send a floating point number to an integer. You'll see that what happens effectively is it's like the number gets rounded. So 50 point turns into the number 50, and it may not seem important at the moment, but there are many cases where it's important to realize that there are these two different kinds of number boxes in Max. Okay, just one other thing which I want to show you quickly. This is something which is new in Max 5. I think it's actually new in Max 5.2, and that is there are these red and green handles, and they let you move cables around from one place to another if you accidentally cable something to the wrong place. In older versions of MaxMSP, what you always had to do, if you put a cable in the wrong place, you had to delete it and recreate it. With these new handles, you can just move cables around to where you meant them to be, says he, trying to demonstrate and failing completely. Okay, so that's various useful shortcuts.